So in Path of Exile 2, a lot of people are saying that the 0.2 patch note is actually harder for the campaign to complete, right? And actually, it's the opposite, and I'll demonstrate why, and I'll show you on every class what you should be doing at the early game, and what is actually strong, because most people are not using them, and the people that are actually using them think the game is super easy, and the game that are not using them, well, they all think that the game is hard. So the best way to make a character from the ground up, right? You have no items, it's a fresh start, you don't have twin gear, whatever. The best way to destroy the campaign is to use things that you know you can scale no matter what, items or not. And also like things that are kind of easy to pick up from the shop, and that don't really takes any investment whatsoever. You don't even need currency or anything. You just buy from the shop and you're good to go, and you do a lot of damage. So let's first talk about scaling off your attributes, because attribute stacking is dead in the late game, kind of, right? They nerfed it. Everybody's like, oh, attribute stacking is dead. But actually in the early game, it's extremely strong right now in the current format. Maybe it will change in the future. But for now, attribute stacking is the strongest way to level any character, and you should be focusing heavily on that for your damage. Now, there's only two possibilities. It's either Stomping Ground or Decaying Hex. Okay, so now you're asking, well, what do you do if you have a dex-based character? Well, dex-based character are pretty cool for that, because you have the opportunity to choose. So you can either go Decaying Hex or you can go Stomping Ground. Both are really strong options, and it depends mostly on your playstyle. If you want to be melee and just be in the pack of mobs, very close combat, you go strength base, so you can have a lot of HP, which you need because you're close combat. And actually, like, a lot of people says like, well, life stacking is very bad in PoE. Well, actually, life stacking is very, very strong early game, because each point gives you 10 health, right? And like at level 1, let's say you're a monk, you have 42 HP. When you put 1 point into strength, you're already at 52, so you're already gaining like 20% HP every level, which is completely insane. And it gives you crazy amount of damage because of Stomping Ground, right? So, and then it's the same thing for int. Well, the only difference with int, when you're, let's say you're a dex-based character, let's say you're a dex-based character, okay, and you're playing the game and you get one shot, because that's the nature of evasion, right? You have a lot of evasion, you have 90% evasion, whatever, and then randomly you get one shot because you have no HP, and yeah. So how do you fix this? Well, you either go strength stacking on the side. So let's say, I don't know, let me just check here. Let's say I'm playing Huntress, you go strength stacking, and then you can play like very close combat. That's fine. It's definitely like you kind of have to use Rake or Shield Charge as your main damage. Rake is, so if you are strength stacking, it's gonna be Rake, which is fine, but you will lose your identity a bit if you use Rake, because Rake, while it's super strong, it's gonna become your main skill. While Shield Charge, you can use any skill you want. So let's say you want to use any other skill in the game. Well, what you can do is just use Shield Charge. You have 3 seconds of doing whatever else, which would be your main skill, and that just complement your damage, right? Because that's a lot of damage early on. Shield Charge is probably the best skill. It's way better than Rake because it's much safer, and it allows you to play anything you want, while Rake actually alter the character identity, right? You're playing Rake. Like you have to play with the spear, and you're very limited in what kind of things you want to play, and you're also way more vulnerable than playing with shield charge. Shield charge is just so strong. You shield charge in, and you're blocking all. It's very strong, and it allows you to play with maces and. Well, right now it's pretty much just maces, but you could play with a wand if you want or whatever. Obviously, if you're strength stacking, it doesn't really make any sense, but you could do that, or maybe play with a scepter with having like a lot of spirit, and then you can do whatever you want with that. But like a low-level scepter just to have the spirit. But yeah, overall you would play with a mace, I guess, at 1-ender if you're playing with shield charge. If you want to play with a spear, well, you can just go Rake, and yeah. So let's say you want to play int base. So let's say you're playing Huntress. You could go like a bow, whatever. Anything range is going to be very powerful with int stacking, because you'll be able to have energy shield while having like you could have a pure energy shield chest just to have like a really good HP pool. And since you're always far from monsters, you'll be okay because you have time to regen, and you have a lot of dex of evasion, so you know, the chances that you will regain that energy shield is very high, instead of like if you're playing like a HP based character with no evasion and you have energy shield. Usually it's not very good, especially if you're always in combat and always getting hit. You're never regaining that energy shield. You can be in trouble, right? And what allows you to be very strong early game is that int stacking becomes more HP because of energy shield, but it also becomes even more HP because you can use enfeeble. And enfeeble, well, you can take 20% more damage from normal monsters. And that's very powerful because enfeeble is basically like having armor at this point, because armor is super strong in the campaign. So if you're strength stacking and you have armor, you'll be a tank because you have a lot of HP, you have a lot of armor, and you have pretty much good damage because, well, strength stacking with stomping ground is very strong, as you can see, 100 to 150% of your strength, and then you have multiple shockwaves. You know, that's very powerful, but you are in extreme danger all the time. You're close combat, so that's something to think about. Now, if you're int stacking, you'd also do a lot of damage in chaos from your curse. So not only your curse protect you, it also do a lot of damage. All you need is a contagion level 1. You could level up, obviously, and yeah, and you can just do a lot of damage, have good clear. You should be able to kill all white monsters with this only, and with impending doom even better. And if you're stacking projectile damage and attack speed, and your build's gonna feel much better than just going pure evasion and pure damage. Your clear is gonna be better, your survivability is gonna be better, and overall your damage probably going to be better, just because all that int is actually damage, and it's not a wasted stat in any way. And that's what's important early game, is to not waste any stats. Okay, so let's go through all the archetype of possibilities here. I was just talking really quickly, but let's say you're a warrior, right? Warrior, you don't really want to int stacking, but you could do it, but obviously it's better to just go straight strength. And this is just a pure example of like you would destroy the whole campaign just by putting all these points in and using Rake or shield charge. Like all this fizz damage, all this strength here is base damage with stomping ground or Rake. Then you multiply all of these with the damage nodes instead of going full damage. Now this gives you a lot of life. It gives you a lot of base damage, and that base damage is increased by all this physical damage that you have here. Attack speed also like magnified all that damage in a good way, and then you have rage on hit that also magnified more multiplier at the end of all. So this is like the best way to have like maximize damage, maximize mobility, attack speed, maximize your health pool and your survivability. You don't even need gear. Just this tree right there would give you probably enough damage to kill the whole campaign without gear. It's that crazy. Obviously, not really. But if all your piece of gear was white, you'd probably be able to do something. Even just with this. That's how crazy it is right now. Obviously, it wouldn't be that good. I'm just saying you'd be able to get by. Now, let's go towards Sorceress. Like, Sorceress can strength stacking. It's obviously not as good as a dex base or like monk or mercenaries or warrior, but you can do it. You can even get like a lot of recoup on the way after that, just to be super tanky. That's like the good thing about Sorceress. Obviously, you can like go full damage straight up, take the skill speed, take the physical damage. There's more physical damage here, and then like damage on full life instead of all that recoup. You would still destroy the whole campaign, and like with the ascendancy that you have, especially like Chronomancer is like super good. If you're opting for recoup early game, you can go like recoup over 4 seconds, or you can go Temporal Rift, and Temporal Rift just makes you pretty much unkillable if you don't get one shot. You almost get one shot. Temporal Rift, you're full HP. So that's like really strong no matter what. Now, if you go Monk is extremely powerful early game because you have so much skill speed and attack speed that with Rake it just becomes outrageous. It's like probably one of the best Rake abuser early game, just because of the sheer speed of it, and the faster you are, the more shockwave there is, and the more mobility you have, the easier it is to escape death and just be very strong early game overall, because all the monsters are kind of slow, but you're super quick early game. Yeah, so Monk is very strong in abusing Rake. I would not necessarily say you should go Shield Charge. I think Monk is probably like one of the best Rake abuser, and you should probably use that. You can still go Shield Charge, but I would say Rake is probably better. Now there's Huntress or Ranger or whatever. You can go strength stacking pretty easily. The early levels are like kind of weird, but once you get to heavy weaponry, you get so much damage from this, because like you get melee damage everywhere, and then you get 15 strength. So it's like all these points here is like we're still giving you strength, but then also you give like melee damage. It's just a very good note early game. So you can play like either Rake or Shield Charge, and then after that you have like so much possibilities. If you're playing Rake, going attack speed is very strong, and there's even more attack speed here if you want. Now, low life damage is also very strong because Shockwave is a lot of damage, so you will increment your damage, and you'll like never like immensely bypass that threshold, right? It's always like increment of small damage, because it's a lot of shockwaves, and it's just very good when you don't do like big hits but a lot of small hits. That's what Stomping Ground is. So low life damage, very good. Damage per if you hold a shield, super good. Physical damage also here. Melee rage is extremely powerful on Rake. It's also pretty good on Shield Charge, but it's much easier to stack it with Rake, obviously. So that's the strength archetype pretty much. If you're a Ranger or Huntress, you can go this route and you're gonna destroy campaign. Like all of these you will destroy campaign like easily. Obviously these are they are kind of limited in what you're playing. I mean, let's say you really want to play, I don't know, like Earthquake. Well, if you play Earthquake, let's say with it actually enables you to play any build if you play Shield Charge, because anything will be good, because your Shield Charge will carry you no matter what, and then your main skill will just complement that, and it will also feel like a different build or whatever. You're not just using Rake all over again, right? Because it might be boring to you to play Rake, but Shield Charge will do help you a lot, and so you can do like shield charge in, earthquake, or whatever skill you want to use, and you will still feel like you have power over the creativity of your build if you're playing a shield charge based character. So that's pretty much it for strength. Like every character can abuse strength. They all have good nodes kind of nearby. Even if it takes a long time to get there, like let's say the worst one is sorceress, all that strength is still damage early on. Okay, it's still very good. So that's something to consider. That even if it's far to get the nodes, you will still be powerful if you're just strength stacking. Okay, now let's go into the enfeeble decaying hex part of the tree. This is mostly for range characters, characters that are not always in combat, and you want to play more of a mage or projectile damage with crossbows or bows. This is your go-to early game. So now let's talk about sorceress, because it's probably the best. Like witch and sorceress have the best in stacking early game for this, and they do have their base int is really high early game, and you'll do a lot of damage just because of like how much int you easily get early game. You can even like rush mind over matter, especially if you're playing like chronomancer with temporal rift. Like even if you lose all your mana, you press temporal rift and you're back to full health with full mana. You don't even have that 50% less recovery rate, right? You just get it all back, whatever you wear. So that's chronomancer is probably the best in stacker abuser for early game. You're literally level like 10, 11, and you have mana immune and you're unkillable. It's very strong, especially if you have like mana drain. Yeah, it's probably like one of my favorite one early game. Just so much effective HP with energy shield, mana, and life as a pool. So it's very very good. And you know that even the int that you're getting on the gear gives you more damage, but it also gives you more survivability. It's just out of this world. It's just so good. Now let's go towards monk. Monk can do kind of the same thing, but way more damage. Because you can have lucidity, and then you have spaghettification very close by that will give you like insane amount of damage. And since you're playing with a curse, when you curse, it's not a chaos skill. The only chaos skill is going to be contagion. So it's pretty good to abuse this, because you can just curse. Like let's say you're in boss fights, you don't want to lose your life. All you have to do is curse. You don't need the contagion, right? And if you're clearing the maps or whatever, you can do contagion once in a while, no problem. Anyway, you're killing a lot of monsters. You'll get your flask back, and you should get back your life easily, especially if you have like some life on kill or whatever. So just this, you're pretty much destroying the content in the early game. Like until Act 3, you have like no problem whatsoever. Maybe in Cruel you need to need to put like more chaos damage if you're still going this route of like pure int stacking, but there's so much like chaos damage nearby that you should be fine, no problem whatsoever. Now for ranger or huntress, whatever, now you can go like a full normal bow setup. But then once you have, because early game, like if you're playing huntress or ranger, you know that your early game is really strong because you have so much damage, and you can just stack this damage. And then after that, what you can do is it's literally like about this level. When you're level like at 10, you're starting to like feel that you're weaker, right? Because you don't have a lot of health, you're all evasion based, and while you have a lot of damage, you can easily die, or like your progression can be like, it can be harder to progress if you're not dodging skills or whatever from monsters. But if you start in stacking, not only you will gain the ability to have a really good clear with Decaying Hex and Impending Doom. With Enfeeble, you're also gonna reduce the damage, and you're gonna have access to all that good energy shield, which will keep you alive. And you can also have like, you're also close to like all that energy shield evasion nodes that are super good. Obviously early game you probably just want to go int, get the skill speed and the damage, because Enfeeble is kind of carrying you in terms of like not taking too much damage. But yeah, after that you're just really close to a lot of defense if you need to. You can even go even more damage if you feel like you don't need the defense. It's just very flexible to have in stacking with a ranger, and it feels really good to have that good clear that just destroy every white monsters without having to think too much. Just Enfeeble, Decaying Hex, Contagion, destroy all the whites, and then you have like good projectile skill damage for killing the rares and the uniques. Overall, very good. It feels so much better to play this way than just going pure evasion based. Now, same thing with Mercenary. Mercenary can go in stacking. The only thing about Mercenary is that you have so much access to so much damage. It's actually insane. Mercenary probably have the most damage nodes nearby out of any, especially projectile damage. Melee, not that much, but in terms of like projectile damage, you have a lot of options here. You can, early game, you probably just want to take all that projectile damage, and after that you can go towards more projectile damage. Like, let's say you want to focus on big hits. Let's say you're playing grenades, right? If you're playing grenades, you probably want to go towards this, and with the reduced attack speed, because the reduced attack speed does not matter. If you're going more towards like faster attack, you can go with the low life, and you can like stack in between. And I know that the requirements for strength and dex is not that high on crossbow and stuff. It's kind of easy to stack int on top of that, especially if your gear gives you like int or whatever. But it will give you a lot of clear, and it's just gonna feel so much better to overall to clear the campaign with this type of build, and it will also allow you to build anything, which is very strong. Because let's say you're finding a piece of gear that is a rare that is in base a bit. Usually you would not be able to wear it, right? Because you're going full dex and you're going full strength. But now you're in stacking, so your pool of like items early game is like super wide. You basically can wear anything. You can wear full int, full strength, full dex, all the mix in between. So any piece of rare gear that you find is potentially good for you. And just that having that fact open is extremely strong early game because you have no items, right? So overall, man, that's about it. Like, if you want to destroy campaign, make sure you're in stacking or strength stacking. That's all. Peace.